The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement as dozens of alien species gathered for the quarterly meeting. Bright lights shone down on creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant lizards with glowing scales. Others were made of living crystal that sang beautiful songs. Few were just clouds of gas floating in special suits. In the back corner, 3 humans sat quietly on simple metal chairs. Ginwoo adjusted his plain black suit and looked around nervously. Next to him, Dr. So-young checked her small computer tablet. Commander Dong-haen sat perfectly still, his old hands folded in his lap. The alien creatures were showing off their amazing powers. The Korthax looked like huge lizard people with teeth as sharp as knives. Their leader, General Vexstar, pressed a button on his belt. Picture appeared in the air showing a massive gun. "Look at our new weapon," Vexstar roared. His voice was so loud it shook the walls. "This gun can turn entire moons into melted rock in just 1 hour." All the aliens made happy sounds. The crystal people chimed like bells. The gas creatures pulsed with bright colors. Everyone was very impressed. Next, one of the crystal beings floated forward. It started to sing a strange, beautiful song. As it sang, the air around it began to shimmer and bend. Part of the wall simply disappeared, showing the dark space outside. Then the wall came back as if nothing had happened. "Amazing," said Chairman Thelis, the meeting leader. He had 4 eyes that blinked one after another. The crystal people can change reality itself. The show continued for hours. The gas creatures showed how they could walk through solid walls like ghosts. The bug-like aliens made hundreds of small robots that worked together like a team. Each group was trying to prove they were the most powerful. Finally, Chairman Thelis looked toward the back of the room where the humans sat. "Now we come to the new species," he said. "The ones from Earth. Please tell us about your special powers." Ginwoo stood up slowly. He felt all the alien eyes watching him. His heart beat fast, but he kept his voice calm. "Thank you, Chairman. Humanity's greatest strength is that we can adapt. We're good at solving problems." Silence filled the huge room. Then something strange happened. The aliens started making sounds Ginwoo had never heard before. They were laughing. The lizard people made deep rumbling sounds. The crystal beings made harsh, broken music. The gas creatures made whistling noises. Problem solvers. General Vexstar laughed so hard his scales shook. "What problems could these weak little creatures solve that we cannot?" Dr. So-young leaned forward. "We find new ways to solve hard puzzles. Our history is full of times when we won against impossible odds by being creative and never giving up." This made the aliens laugh even harder. One of the bug creatures clicked its jaw parts together. "Creative? Never giving up? These are not powers. These are just ... ideas." Chairman Thelis raised his hand for quiet. "While we appreciate humanity's enthusiasm, the Council needs to see real abilities. You have powerful weapons, advanced technology, special bodies." "Commander." Dong-haen spoke for the first time. His voice was rough but steady. "We have weapons, Chairman, but they are not what makes us dangerous." "Not dangerous?" Vexstar's scales rippled with amusement. "Then what good are they?" "We make them work," Dong-haen replied simply. The room exploded with more laughter. Ginwoo watched as the aliens looked at each other and whispered. He did not need to understand their languages to know what they were thinking. The humans were weak, stupid, and harmless. "Very well," Chairman Thelis said, sounding bored now. "Humanity's request for membership is ... noted. Thank you for coming." As the meeting ended, Ginwoo heard the aliens talking. "Did you see their weapons? They shoot metal bullets with explosions. Their fastest ships can barely travel at light speed. They do not even have energy shields. Weak little mammals." Dr. So-young gathered her things. "They think we are not important," she whispered to Ginwoo. "Good," Commander Dong-haen said quietly. "Let them think that." As the 3 humans walked out, Ginwoo looked back at the Great Hall one more time. The aliens were already talking about other things. Trade deals, territory fights, important business. None of them noticed the small device Dr. So-young had left behind. It looked like a simple sensor, but it would record everything that happened in the station. The humans walked down the long hallways in silence. Behind them, the powerful aliens continued their important work. They felt safe and superior. They had no idea they had just made a huge mistake in the quiet of their footsteps. None of the aliens saw the small smile on Ginwu's face. They had laughed at the quiet humans and thought they were harmless and primitive. They would never make that mistake again. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was chaos. Admiral Hyjin stood in the human viewing area, watching through thick glass as alien leaders shouted at each other in panic. The translation machines could barely keep up with all the different languages being spoken at once. "Quiet. Everyone be quiet," Chairman Thelis yelled, his 4 eyes wide with fear. A giant picture appeared in the center of the room showing something that made every alien in the galaxy shake with terror. It was a massive black structure. It was floating through space like a dark nightmare. The thing was huge, 12 kilometers long and just as wide. It moved without any visible engines, leaving a trail of dark energy that bent light around it. Dr. Minho, the human expert on ancient aliens, leaned forward in his chair. "The destroyer," he whispered, just like the old books described. The structure looked both alive and mechanical at the same time. Its surface moved with patterns that hurt to look at directly. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "The machine has destroyed 17 star systems in 1 month," General Vextar reported, his usual tough attitude replaced by clear fear. "Our most powerful weapons have done nothing to it." Captain Yunsu, the human military officer, wrote careful notes on her tablet. She had been studying how the destroyer attacked for weeks. Unlike the other species who focused on its terrible weapons, she was more interested in how it moved and chose its targets. "The crystal people tried to make it disappear from reality," the Zephyrian delegate sang sadly. "It absorbed our reality powers and used them against us. 3 of our best fleets simply stopped existing." A wave of fear went through the room. The crystal people were the most advanced species in the galaxy. If they had failed so badly, what hope did anyone else have? "The gas people tried to sneak inside it," wheezed the Vortani representative. "Our scouts were caught and destroyed before they could get through its outer shell. The machine seems to know what we will do before we do it." Dr. Minho raised his hand. "If I may speak, Chairman, the humans will be silent." Della snapped. "This is a matter for the real powers of the galaxy." Admiral Hejin's jaw tightened with anger, but she gestured for Minho to put his hand down. This was not the time to argue. Instead, she turned on a small recording device to capture every word. The argument went on for hours. The bug people wanted to attack with millions of small ships. The lizard people suggested building bigger weapons. The ghost aliens offered to sacrifice themselves in a massive mind attack. Each idea was met with the same response from those who had already fought the destroyer. It would not work. "The machine learns," General Vextar admitted reluctantly. "Every attack makes it stronger. It takes our technologies, our tactics, our very souls. We are not fighting just a weapon, we are fighting evolution itself." "Then we must run away," Chairman Thelis declared. "Fall back to the core worlds and prepare our final defenses." "And when it follows us there?" asked the crystal being. "When it has learned everything from every species it has fought? What then?" The room fell silent. For the first time in galactic history, the great powers had no answer. Dr. Minho leaned over to Admiral Hyjin. "The pattern recognition programs are finished," he whispered. "I know how it thinks. How it thinks." Captain Yunsu looked up. From her notes, "It is a machine." "No," Minho shook his head. "It is much more than that. It's a learning creature, but it learns according to very specific rules. Ancient rules." Admiral Hajin studied the picture, watching as the destroyer methodically tore apart a lizard people battle station. The machine's movements were precise, efficient, almost graceful.
Ow.
"What kind of rules? The kind that have weaknesses we can exploit," Minho replied quietly. "But we would need to get much closer to be sure." The meeting was ending. The various species were retreating to their homeworlds to prepare for what many believed would be their final battle. As the delegates walked out, Captain Yunsu approached Admiral Hejin. "Ma'am, I have been studying the battle reports. Destroyers' attack patterns follow a logical sequence, but there is something else. It is not just learning their weapons, it is learning how they think." "Explain." "The lizard people think in terms of overwhelming force, so it developed better shields. The crystal people think in terms of reality manipulation, so it learned to counter quantum effects. The gas people think in terms of sneaking around, so it developed better sensors." Yunsu paused. "It is not just learning their technology, it is learning their minds." Admiral Hyjin nodded slowly, which means ... has never fought anyone who thinks like us, Dr. Minho finished. "It has never encountered human cleverness." Psst. The three humans left the chamber. They passed groups of alien delegates in heated discussions. The topics were always the same: bigger weapons, stronger shields, more exotic technologies. The same approaches that had already failed. "They are going to keep trying the same things," Captain Yunsu observed. "Of course they are," Admiral Hajin replied. "It is all they know. Each species has their specialty. They're the best at what they do, but they can only do what they do." "And what do we do?" Dr. Minho asked. Admiral Hajin smiled grimly. "We do whatever it takes." While the galaxy's greatest armies prepared for war, Earth was busy with quiet work and the deep underground command center in Seoul. Admiral Hejin stood before a giant holographic display showing the destroyer's path through space. The ancient machine would reach the core worlds in 18 days. "Give me the report," she commanded. Commander Jaehuyan, head of the thinking team, stepped forward. "The mind profiles are complete, Admiral. Dr. Minho's team has figured out how. The destroyer learns. It is smart, but it works in ways we can predict." "Predict how?" "It learns by watching and copying. When it sees energy weapons, it makes energy shields. When it sees solid weapons, it makes solid barriers. It reacts to what it sees, but it does not think ahead." Dr. Soman, the team's alien mind expert, joined the meeting. "The interesting part is that it does not just copy technologies, it copies thought patterns, learns how each species thinks about problems and develops ways to beat those specific thoughts." Admiral Hejian studied the data flowing across her screen, which means if we can control how it learns, ... we can control what it becomes, Commander Jaehyun finished. "But that would require us to deliberately give it information, to basically teach it how to fight us, only if we think like everyone else," Dr. Suman said. "But what if we do not? What if we approach this completely differently?" Another part of the command center, Captain Yunsu, was working with engineers led by Chief Engineer Young-soo. Unlike the massive weapons being built by other species, the human team was making something much smaller, a series of small probe ships, each no bigger than a shuttle. "The hiding abilities are good," Young-soo reported, "but they will not fool. The destroyer's sensors for long, maybe 30 minutes each." "That is all we need," Captain Yunsu replied. 30 minutes to plant the seeds. The probes were amazing examples of human engineering, not because they were the most advanced technology available, but because they were the most sneaky. Each probe was designed to look like something else: broken pieces from destroyed ships, space rocks, even chunks of ice. They carried no weapons, no shields, no fancy technologies that might make the destroyer want to study them. Instead, they carried something far more dangerous: information. Dr. Minho arrived at the engineering area carrying a data crystal. "The culture database is complete," he announced. "Every failed strategy, every predictable response, every normal approach the other species might try. We are going to teach it to expect them. And while it is preparing for their attacks," Captain Yunsu smiled grimly, "we will hit it with something it never saw coming," Young-soo finished. The real genius of the human plan was not in any single part. It was in how everything worked together. While the probe teams prepared their trick, other groups were working on equally unusual approaches. In the moon shipyards, construction crews were building what looked like a normal human battle fleet. But hidden inside each ship were changes that would have seemed pointless to any other species. Dr. Sungwon, the fleet's chief scientist, explained the changes to Admiral Hyjin during her inspection visit. We have installed quantum resonance generators in every ship's hull. They are not weapons, they are instruments. It will let us turn the entire fleet into a massive sensor array. To study the destroyer? To understand it? The other species see it as a weapon to be destroyed. We see it as a puzzle to be solved. The Admiral nodded approvingly. And the other changes? Each ship can change its internal structure in real time. Hallways can become power conduits, crew rooms can become processing centers, even the bridge can be moved. We are not just building ships, we are building shapeshifters. As the days passed, reports from the fighting grew more desperate. The destroyer had met the combined fleet of the Outer Rim, the largest military force ever put together in galactic history. The battle lasted 14 hours. The destroyer came out without a scratch. Its abilities improved by technologies taken from 17 different species. But the human teams continued their quiet preparations. They studied every fight, analyzed every failure, cataloged every adaptation. They were building something never done before, a complete psychological profile of an ancient artificial intelligence. It is not evil, Dr. Soman reported during the daily meeting. It is not even mean. It is following a program, doing ancient jobs. But those jobs were written by beings who could not possibly have thought of every situation. You are talking about exploiting a programming mistake, Admiral Hedgen said. I'm talking about exploiting the programmer's assumptions. They assumed that all threats would follow certain patterns, that all challenges would fall within certain limits. They never considered that someone might approach the problem from a completely different angle. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant G1, a communications specialist, had been analyzing the destroyers. Signal patterns. She burst into the command center with barely contained excitement. Admiral, I found something. The destroyer is not just learning from its fights, it is reporting back. Reporting to whom? That is the thing, it is not reporting to anyone. It is reporting to something. The signals are being stored in a quantum buffer inside the machine itself. I think it is planning to download everything it has learned too. Something else when its mission is complete. The implications were staggering. The destroyer was not just a weapon, it was a scout, gathering information about galactic civilizations for some other purpose. And if that was true, it had a weakness. It could not risk losing the data it had collected. The core worlds had never seen anything like it. Every major fleet in the galaxy had come together at the Kepler defense line. A ring of armed stations and battle groups that was the last organized defense against the destroyer. The ancient machine moved slowly toward them, its sensors studying every weapon, every shield, every defense they had prepared. Admiral Hedgen stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the battle display with calm focus. Around her, the human fleet stayed in loose formation well behind the main battle line. To the other species, it looked like they were getting ready to run away. What is the status of the probes? She asked quietly. All 37 have successfully gotten close to the destroyer, reported Commander Jahan. The fake culture packages are sending. It is learning exactly what we want it to learn. On the main display, the destroyer had begun its attack. The first wave came from the Korvax heavy fleet, a coordinated blast of plasma cannons powerful enough to crack moons. The machine's shields absorbed the energy, analyzed it, and began making countermeasures. Within minutes, it was firing back with plasma weapons of its own. But improved, perfected, devastating. The Korvax formation broke apart like glass. Phase 2, Admiral Hedgen ordered. The Zephyrian reality singers began their assault. There, crystal forms singing in frequencies that could change the basic structure of matter. Space itself began to bend around the destroyer, reality twisting to their will. For a moment it seemed like the machine might actually be affected. Then the destroyer sang back. The sound it made was perfect. A counter-melody that not only stopped the Zephyrians, reality manipulation, but turned it against them. 3 of their fleet singers simply stopped existing, their crystal structures dissolving into nothing. It is learning faster than we thought, Dr. Soman observed. Each adaptation is becoming more advanced, Good Admiral Hedgen replied. Let it learn. The battle continued for hours. The Vortani tried their ghost infiltration tactics. only to find the destroyer's hull had become selectively solid, letting their scouts enter but not leave. The Chitrek launched their swarm attacks, but the machine had developed point defense systems that could track and destroy thousands of small targets at once. With each failed attack, the destroyer grew stronger, more capable, more dangerous. The defenders began to fall back, their formations breaking apart as species after species realized they could not win. Now, Admiral Hedgen said quietly, the human fleet began to move, but not toward the destroyer. Instead, they spread out in a complex pattern, their ships taking positions that seemed random to the other species. Each ship began broadcasting on different frequencies, their quantum resonance generators, working together in a pattern that would have been impossible for any other fleet to coordinate. Admiral came a transmission from General Vextar's flagship. "What are you doing? The battle is lost." "The battle is just beginning," Admiral Hyjin replied. The human ships were not attacking, they were listening. Their combined sensor array had turned the entire fleet into a massive observation instrument, one capable of detecting quantum vibrations at the smallest level. And what they were observing was the destroyer's internal processes, its learning programs, its decision-making patterns. "Got it," announced Dr. Minho. "The core programming structure is exposed." Lieutenant G1 was right. It is not just learning, it is categorizing. Every species, every tactic, every approach is being filed away for future reference. Can we access it? We do not need to. We just need to give it something to categorize that it cannot process. Captain Yunsu smiled grimly. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the thunder." The first human attack came from the Bison's Resolve, a heavy cruiser that had been modified far beyond its original design. Instead of firing its weapons at the destroyer, it fired them at empty space. But space that had been carefully prepared with quantum markers placed by the probe ships. The effect was immediate and impossible. The destroyer's sensors detected incoming projectiles, but they were coming from locations where no ship existed. Its defensive systems tried to target the source, but the quantum markers made it appear as if the attacks were coming from multiple dimensions at once. "It is trying to categorize a paradox," Dr. Soman reported with satisfaction. "Its learning programs are stuck in recursive loops." The second wave came from the Inchen's Fury, which had changed its entire internal structure to become a massive projection system. It began broadcasting false sensor readings directly into the destroyer's data stream, not through its shields or external sensors, but through quantum entanglement with the infiltrated probes. The machine suddenly detected thousands of human ships that did not exist, armed with weapons that broke the laws of physics, using tactics that made no logical sense. Its processing power began to overflow as it tried to develop countermeasures for threats that were not actually there. "Neural cascade is beginning," announced Chief Engineer Young-Soo. "The destroyer's learning matrix is overloading." Humans were not finished. The third wave was the most daring of all. The Daegu's wisdom, under the command of Captain Sujin, began broadcasting something that no species had ever used as a weapon: pure, unfiltered creativity. The transmission contained humanity's greatest works of art, literature, music, and philosophy. It contained jokes, paradoxes, abstract concepts, and emotional experiences. It contained everything that made humans human, all the chaotic, illogical, beautiful complexity of a species that had learned to find meaning in meaninglessness. The destroyer's ancient programming had no framework for processing creativity. It could analyze technologies, reverse engineer weapons, counter tactical maneuvers, but it could not understand why humans wrote poetry, why they created music, why they found beauty in imperfection. 6 months after the destroyer's change, the Galactic Council chambers had been rebuilt and made bigger. The new design showed a big shift in galactic politics. The human delegation no longer sat in the back. Ambassador Jin Wu now had a seat of honor at the main council table, with Dr. So-young and Admiral Hijin sitting beside him as Earth's representatives. The chamber was fuller than it had ever been. Word of humanity's victory had spread throughout the galaxy, and species that had never before wanted council membership were now eager to join. The Quiet Ones had broken the oldest rule in galactic politics. They had done the impossible. Galactic defense integration protocols are now complete, Chairman Thelis announced, his four eyes focused on the holographic display floating above the council table. Thanks to the unique insights provided by humanity, we have successfully integrated destroyer-class technologies into our defensive networks. The being once known as the Destroyer now hung in space near the core worlds, form a graceful blend of ancient engineering and evolved consciousness. It had chosen a new name for itself, the Guardian, and had become Earth's most unlikely ally. Together, they had changed galactic defense, not through bigger weapons or stronger shields, but through understanding. The psychological warfare. Protocols developed by the human military have proven remarkably effective, reported General Vexstar, his tone a mixture of admiration and lingering disbelief. Our recent action against the Outer Rim pirates resulted in their complete surrender without firing a single shot. Admiral Yun-Su, now promoted to full admiral, smiled slightly. Sometimes the most effective weapon is the one your enemy uses to defeat himself. The change had not been limited to military uses. Dr. Minho's ancient alien research, combined with the Guardian's old memories, had unlocked technologies that the galaxy had thought lost forever. But more importantly, it had revealed the true history of galactic civilization and humanity's place in it. The origin archives have been fully decoded, Dr. Minho reported to the assembly. The civilization that created the Guardian was indeed the ancestor of modern humanity. They planted seeds on dozens of worlds before their empire fell. But only Earth developed the specific combination of adaptability and creativity that allowed humans to evolve beyond their original parameters. Which explains why the Guardian recognized us, added Dr. Soman, had been appointed as the galaxy's first director of interspecies psychology. We were not just another species to be catalogued. We were the fulfillment of its creators' greatest hopes. The revelations had shaken the foundations of galactic society. Primitive humans were not newcomers to the cosmic stage. They were the inheritors of the oldest and most advanced civilization in known history, but they had chosen to develop differently, to value growth over power, understanding over domination. The educational exchange programs have exceeded all projections, reported the Zephyrian delegate, their crystalline forms cycling through pleased harmonics. Human students are bringing entirely new perspectives to our reality-shaping disciplines. Their concept of thinking outside the box has revolutionized our approaches to quantum manipulation. The cultural exchange had been Dr. Soman's initiative. Based on the observation that the galaxy's species had become too specialized, too focused on their individual strengths, humans, with their jack-of-all-trades mentality, were teaching other species to think beyond their limitations. The Korthax Human Joint Engineering Project has produced remarkable results, General Vexstar added. By combining our plasma technology with human adaptive engineering, we have created weapons that can modify themselves during battle. The applications for both defense and construction are extensive. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy approached problems. The old way, each species using their specialty to overwhelm challenges, had been replaced by something new. Mixed teams of different species, guided by human coordinators, were solving problems that had seemed impossible for centuries. The Vortani gas mining operations have increased efficiency by 300% since implementing human organizational methods, reported the gaseous delegate. Our traditional approach of individual infiltration has been enhanced by human concepts of teamwork and backup planning. Ginwu stood to address the assembly. The greatest lesson we have learned is that strength comes not from having the biggest weapon or the most advanced technology. True strength comes from understanding yourself, understanding your opponent, and understanding that sometimes the best solution is the one nobody expects. The Guardian's voice resonated through the chamber, a harmonic blend that seemed to come from the stars themselves. The creators would be proud. Their children have grown beyond what they imagined possible. They learned not just to survive, but to help others thrive. Chairman Thelis nodded respectfully. The Council formally offers humanity full administrative positions in galactic governance. Your species has proven itself worthy of leadership. Ginwu exchanged glances with his colleagues, We are honored by the offer, Chairman, but we must respectfully decline the ceremonial positions. We prefer to remain what we have always been, problem solvers who watch, learn, and act when needed. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then erupted in what could only be described as respectful applause, each species expressing approval in their own way. As the session ended, species after species approached the human delegation. The same aliens who had laughed at them months ago now sought their advice, their partnership, their friendship. The quiet ones had spoken, and the universe had listened. The thunder had rolled, and in its wake came a new understanding that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the loudest voice, but in the wisest whisper. The galaxy would never underestimate the power of quiet preparation again,